CMSportsNet presents A Season Lost, High School Lacrosse 2020. Brought to you by Carroll Lynx.
Hello and welcome to A Season Lost. My name is Megan Woodward and I am joined by Liberty Girls Lacrosse players Emily Van Reenan, Val Thompson, and Alanna Wray. Thank you so much for joining us today, ladies. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So can either one of you, this can go for either one of you, can you go ahead and tell me how the COVID-19 shutdown has kind of affected each of you and the team as a whole?
The COVID-19 shutdown was obviously just so out of the blue for all of us, and really just something that taught us how to deal with adversity, I think. When it first became apparent that we were going to have to maybe come back in 2 weeks, shut down completely, anything like that. It was all still very naive on our part, I think. We were just we'll be back. We're going to continue training. It is what it is. What can you do about this situation? And I think it really just almost opened our eyes to looking beyond just lacrosse almost. We all just had to learn how to live with a spring without something that we've done for the past 10 plus years for most of us. So it was definitely challenging to have to hear that this was being shut down, but it was, I think, a really good learning tool for a lot of people, almost to be humbled by what they have. You didn't even hear of anyone getting contracted with a virus that became this big pandemic before whatever this year. In our lifetime, we're so young, we didn't really experience SARS or anything like that. So this is our first big global scale thing that we're involved in news wise. So it definitely was surprising and hard to go through, but it was almost needed to teach us a real grow up lesson.
Sure. And if either one of you want to add to that, you certainly can.
Yeah, I agree with what Alanna said, and I think it taught us a lot of how to do things individually, because we didn't have a group to be able to practice with, to have someone to play defense on us all the time. You had to figure out your own ways to get better without having a coach telling you what to do or having your teammates keeping you accountable and all of that. So it was definitely a big learning lesson, and I think it was helpful, even though it was surprising and we all thought we'd be back. But it definitely has taught me ways to do things on my own and get better on my own, whether you just have to put in the extra time when you're not forced to do it at practice or something. You have to do it on your own. But
sure. And for you, Emily?
To go along with what they said, I think it really impacted us positively and in negative ways too, helping us adjust different schedules and having to depend on ourselves instead of on other people to better ourselves.
So were you guys able to develop any creative ways to stay in touch or stay in shape during this difficult time when, we're technically told we can't be together in big groups and practice or anything?
Yeah, definitely. We tried to keep, I think, the team atmosphere and chat or just whatever togetherness pretty active in those first 2 weeks. It's kind of hard after that, because we heard we weren't having the season, so it wasn't as an active thing. But it's definitely if you see your friend at the wall, or we would all just randomly see each other around town. It wasn't just a look or a wave. We're still really close and actively involved in each other's lives, and we're all kind of bonded almost through this experience. I feel like we all know what each other went through with it, something being stripped from you that you almost feel that it's part of your identity. I feel most girls lacrosse players define themselves as a girls lacrosse player almost. So when we all went through this almost terrible horrific thing, it kind of just brought us together closer, even though we weren't talking every single day. We were still had this one thing that kind of will string us together. I feel definitely that for the social aspect, but the physical aspect, I know they're both still in high school, and I was at the time and everything, but I'll be going into my freshman year this year, playing lacrosse at Loyola. So around like May, I was given my like workout packet through our strength and conditioning coach there. So I was doing stuff on my own, and I'd see Val putting in the work. I'd see Emily. I see them all the time at the wall or like at the field putting in the work on our own. But once I got that packet, I really just like, it was almost like something just I went back to every single day. Like I referred to that thing, like it's like my lifeline. Like I do all my lifts, runs, everything through that, and it was like really helpful to have structure through that.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. And for you ladies?
I guess like since I'll be a senior next year, I didn't really have like a structure, but I just kind of think like mentally, I was like, okay, you need to put in the work every day like you were in season, and there's not really off season, like you're in season right now. So I would just like make sure I would do like track workouts, whether it's the gym or just at the wall. I would take the ball bucket and like just shoot a bunch of rounds of balls in the bucket just to keep myself up, and because I didn't want to go back being behind anyone. So I think just it's definitely like tough mentally, because you can just sit at home and do nothing, but you have to know that you want it and you're determined, and you have to just keep putting in the work even though you could not. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so I agree with them. Even though we didn't have like a set schedule for each individual, like I tried to create like my own by like helping myself like mentally and physically. So like either it was going to the wall or running or just doing like different workouts every day and like setting a goal for myself each week. Whether it was like texting someone else, like come run with me or go shoot at the wall or something. It was always like doing it together.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's good. So tell me a little bit about how the team felt entering the spring pre-pandemic, and what were some of the goals that you girls had for 2020?
We definitely were gunning for states. Like
Sure.
that was our huge goal. We all talked about it, and we were all so set on it. That's why it was really disappointing when we heard what would happen, and we thought we'd be back. We're 2 weeks we were going to be back and winning states, but it was really unfortunate. But we knew we had a good potential that year, so it was just upsetting. But yeah, we definitely were set on states for sure.
Yeah, we were all so determined on like getting there, and everybody was working so hard, like as a team and individually, just to get at that point. But when we heard about the 2 weeks, that one day at practice, like we were all like, it's okay, like we'll be back to normal, and then we'll get there, get to our goal, and now we're here. So
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially this group, a lot of us experienced like the leadership change. It was my, I guess, junior year, but like I think all three of us went through like the new coach that came into Liberty, and like kind of like the switch from what Liberty Lacrosse was before, like the whole just like mindset around that, or like what people thought of us. And then we had this sort of like culture switch when we had this new coach and new like leadership come in. And with that leadership came just like a new program, almost like we started from really like the bottom and like built our way back up. And having that goal of like states through like, I guess my last year, and then like my friends like rising up with that, it was just like something that we knew was reachable and like knew was attainable. So it was just like so hard to have that almost like in our grasp, like so close, like we put in all this work, and then it just to be like ripped away was really hard. But like I know like next year we'll be able to like continue that momentum, and like they'll be able to carry it on and like push it through for our program.
Absolutely. So Alanna, I understand you're heading off to Loyola for lacrosse. So what are you most looking forward to when you get to the next level?
I'm definitely looking forward to the like introduction of creativity. I chose Loyola in specifics for its creative coaching staff and amazing, really welcoming like team people. Like the people at Loyola were just like the people I wanted to be. So like I chose like who I wanted to amplify or exemplify like my behavior as. And I'm really excited just to like get there and learn. Almost like I'm so excited just to like have new everything, like new style, new play, new ideas, new just like brand new like ways of thinking within the game. Like, I want to experience things that, like, I haven't even thought of ever in my life. Like, oh my gosh, that is a new way to shoot, a new way to take the draw, like, just things that, like, don't come to the average, like, high school player. I think, like, it's expanding my lacrosse IQ is definitely what I'm really excited for.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what will you miss the most about playing for Liberty?
I'm definitely gonna miss the relationships and just, like, the bonds that I made with these people. Like, we went through the ringer together. Like, that's how I put it. Like, we really did. Like, we went through the crazy, like, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. runs together. We went through on Saturday mornings in March when we're all, like, not even opening our eyes on the line. Like, we're all just so tired, like, just there, like, putting in the work. And, like, even, like, just our off-season program itself was honestly, like, the hardest thing I had to go through really, like, mentally for all of my high school career. Like, we had captain's practice 3 days a week, and then those other 2 days that were off were lifts that we had to all drive to. That was, like, 15 to 20 minutes away, drive to those lifts, like, and it was, like, it wasn't something that I would say was easy in the slightest. It was, like, really challenging mentally and physically, and then just, like, being there together really created this, like, just such a tight bond that, like, I will remember for the rest of my life. Like, these people, like, I went through it, like, all with them, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool. That's incredible. So Val, now I understand that this summer is exceptionally busy for juniors in terms of recruiting. And I mean, have you faced any difficulty in that process, or just trying to stay busy and on top of it, when you start to really buckle down and make that decision?
Yeah, it's definitely stressful because right now it's like all about getting film together and sending it to coaches since you can't really have contact. I mean, they're not allowed to come watch you play, and I personally didn't have any tournaments this summer. So it's definitely a different time right now, and a lot of things are changing, so it's just you really have to make sure you're on top of it and you can't get behind because things will pick back up. You don't know when. So, I mean, it's definitely different and challenging, but just have to see where it goes from here, I guess.
Sure. And Emily, I understand you're committed to Salisbury, and that's very exciting. And you still have one more year left at Liberty.
Yeah.
And this question can go for either Emily or Val. Alanna, you are graduated, so you won't be at Liberty next year. But for you girls, how much do you think that this year off will affect next year's team and any new incoming players for next year?
I kind of feel like it's all dependent on, like, yourself to determine, like, how it's gonna, like, what the results are gonna be for next year and how much work people are putting in, like, individually. So then when we all come together, it's all, like, we just have to work on playing together instead of individually, like, the basics.
Sure.
I think we, like, as captains can encourage people to do stuff on their own since we're not allowed to really do much together right now, so that when it does come season, we know we'll be prepared and ready to work together. And I know that everyone's putting in work right now, which is good to see so that we can be prepared. But our off-season work is definitely pretty impressive, I think, compared to most of the teams are in the county. So
Sure. And this question can go for either one of you. So I know Coach Brandel is relatively new to the program, and it seemed like, Alanna, you said that there has really been a cultural shift. And how do you think that he will really help carry you guys through this and have you guys prepared to be ready whenever you guys are ready to get back to the field again?
I feel like he always prepares us, whether it's for, like, little things or bigger things like this. I know he always, like, has a plan and tries to do the best that he can to better us as a team and, like, as people. And I feel like he'll be able to really, like, bring the program back together like he did when he first came to Liberty. Like, that's kind of like the same thing that, like, happened, but when we do actually go back, he'll kind of have a feel for, like, bringing us together again. So
Yeah.
I think he's, like, really invested in the program. You can tell, and he really wants to build it up and, like, change the culture, and you can see that. So I think he wants to get us together in the off season so we're ready for the season. He's just always thinking ahead and having a plan for us to be better, and he knows what he's doing. So
Awesome. Awesome, great. I mean, I think that's all that I had for you ladies. I mean, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.